Challenge accepted. A creative playground dissolving obstacles through collaboration and curiosity. Join your hosts Casper and Shannon as they bring their passion and purpose together to further the art of storytelling for themselves and their guests. Each episode will explore your big ideas while developing Casper's untitled werewolf story and Shannon's ConQuest creature adventure, bringing these concepts to life with the community. Our diverse cast will offer unique perspectives and strategies to overcome limitations, promoting a mindset of saying yes to possibilities. We aim to provide support, empowerment, and inspiration for ideas seeking to become reality. Go ahead and tell us it can't be done. We double dog dare ya. Welcome to the very first Challenge Accepted.
Yep.
I'm Shannon.
Hi. Osio, I am Casper.
And we're here for the mayhem. We're going to be taking challenges of our own and helping each other out with them, working through some of our TTRPG and storytelling content in general, and then bringing on guests to throw some challenges, and we can get in that creative play space to just push the envelope a little bit.
Uh, yeah, no, we're here. We're here to just mostly talk about like stories and um, help each other out, basically.
Yeah. Well, and I love that we have known each other for like 3 seconds, but we vibed right away. And we're just like, let's go down this road and see what happens.
Basically, yeah, we kind of just you let me rant at you about werewolves for about an hour during like a cool down from a session, and we're like, yep, nope, this is this is the thing. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. It was like, I see you.
And it's beautiful to feel seen. And honestly, I think that's what the main vibe of this is, to be like making sure others can feel seen as well. Cause I mean, how else are you supposed to make friends as an adult? Like go out, get coffee and meet people? No, you're supposed to rant at them on the internet about your passion for X amount of time.
Yes, exactly.
And that's how you make true friends.
Friendships as adults or new ones, it's so weird.
Yeah, it really is. But I think that's why I like the tabletop space, because then you can like you get to meet people in their most like playful kind of mindset. It's like, yeah, sure, you're playing a goblin right now, riding a capybara. That's really a wild boar. Sure, whatever. Whatever you say, buddy. We're out here, and like even
Yeah.
on our thing where we hashtag spoiler alert, ended up all of us trying to betray each other. And it's like, yeah, no, we're totally cool with it. Like, absolutely down. I don't know these people. And then it's like it's serious play. That's all it is. It's just serious playtime. Um,
Yep.
and that's why I love the tabletop space. This place is amazing.
I agree. It very much taps into that childlike energy that as adults we're often told, put that away or whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're all just like, screw that. Let's do this.
Yeah. I love that. I love it.
Yeah, agreed. I wanted to talk a little bit as we started about the this whole werewolf vibe because it's something you're like super stoked about. Like you could just hear the passion, which for me, that's why I do what I do. I love just bringing that passion out of people, giving them a space to just let it go. Because I feel like so much of life is just squashing that. Like it's not your time, you're being too this, too loud, too whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you immediately just like lit up. So what is it? Tell us about it.
Uh okay. So I came out with this werewolf idea um back in high school, like my senior year of high school. It was 3 a.m. on the hood of my car talking to my best friend when I'm parked in her driveway. And it was like a full moon, go figure. And like
Mm.
she randomly asked me, like, what would you do if your girlfriend was a werewolf? And I'm like, hold my drink. And I got a Chinese takeout menu, and like a random pen because I always carry a pen on me. And I basically mapped out this entire story about like seven sisters and their wolfy companions, and how like this little nerd girl is out to save the world. And then I broke down a whole like hunter system about how it all ties into like Orion, the great hunter, and blah, 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 blah. And my best friend's like, you could turn this into a movie, right? And I'm like, you know what? You're absolutely right. That didn't happen. I do not have the patience to write a movie. So, um,
Yet. Yet.
yeah, yet I am a TV writer, if anything. So that idea has kind of been marinating in my brain and has gone through several iterations. There are no longer seven sisters or anything like that. Orion is still like a great hunter kind of situation. I have a lesbian hunter Jesus, who is
Oh,
Latina.
wait.
Yes.
Let's just take a minute with that because that's beautiful.
Yeah, I came out as like I came out as queer before this, and through this discovery it's just gotten like gayer. um so my three main characters, I have my main character Kinney Kendall Monroe, who that name has not changed since the inception of this. That's basically my self insert character. um they are wholly obsessed about um werewolves. They love shapeshifters, they love cryptozoology and creatures of that nature. They cannot socialize to save their life. And as I've gotten older, I have aged them up from being in high school to being in college. Um, but my main character has gotten more and more autistic. And as I've come to grips with like, oh hey, this is how I see the world. Let me just throw
Yeah.
that in there. The major different, like where I finally made the separation between Kenny and myself is I identify as non-binary. Um and Kenny very much identifies as a strong black woman. I will let her have that. She can I need something to differentiate between me and her. So, like it's everything else we're pretty much down the line the same. Um, I do
Wild.
not have a collection of werewolf and like Cerberus kind of like posters and little doohickeys all over my desk right now. It's don't ask questions, guys. But
No.
um, yeah. So as I was doing research for all of this, I was looking up different types of werewolf lore, like the Loup Garou from ancient France, which if you go down the line, you can go to the Rougarou, which are in New Orleans. Um, Basically the same thing. It's just a Cajun version of a werewolf, which is awesome. But they are born werewolves, and like you prick them, their eyes change colors. It's basically very blood and chocolate. Because I found that book and I was like, this is mine. This is mine now. I love this. Um, and then I took basically all of my werewolves come from four different movies. My born werewolves are Blood and Chocolate, which I base it more on the book, not the movie. We don't talk about the movie. Um, then I've got my uh they were originally called skinwalkers, but since I don't know enough about like that um Native American group, like I don't know too much
Yeah.
about the Navajo skinwalkers. I'm pretty sure they're Navajo. I have notes on this. Um, but I didn't want to appropriate it. Like I'm
Yep.
Cherokee and I'm on a path to rediscovery. I'm not trying to be like, "Oh, just cuz I'm native, I can misappropriate all of this stuff." I'm like, "Nah." So, I'm just changing them to shifters, but like I like the idea of coming like how people go off on like trying to find whatever enlightenment or like some spiritual enlightenment and they just found a way to turn themselves into a werewolf. I'm like, yeah, okay. Sure. You reach nirvana and you become a werewolf. Congratulations. You've done it. Um and you know what? That's something I want in my life, so I just gave that to them.
Right.
And they look more human. I like to base those off of like the Wolfman, like OG, calling back to
Yep.
um like Universal's the dawn of horror kind of situation. Um and then I've got Underworld, which I like their werewolves because they turn it into a virus. It's a lycanthropy virus. So it like
Yep.
switches your blood and everything like that. It makes it very scientific, very genetic. And I'm like, oh, okay, we can find a cure for that. So that's another hook I can spin
Quest
off
line.
of. Yeah. And then I've got people like if you can find ultimate nirvana and find a werewolf, like why not sell your soul and give up your humanity and also get the same thing? Kind of situation. And those werewolves are kind of based off of the Howling, because my dad showed me that movie at a completely inappropriate age. I think I was like 5 or 6 seeing the
Oh,
Howling, and I'm like, yo, what? But those
yeah.
effects were sick and they stuck with me. Same with American Werewolf in London. I love those movies. I love those transformation scenes. And I'm like, yeah, okay, if it's going to be this painful to become a werewolf, I mean, like, you're going to have to give up a lot. And I don't know. I liked thinking of that aspect. And then built like from that, I came up with the werewolf girlfriend for my main character, whose name is Cordelia Blacktail. Blacktail is the name of a tribe in Yellowstone. Not a tribe, a pack of wolves in Yellowstone. And
Oh,
I just
cool.
kind of turned them into a group of people who live in isolation. Um, and
Little
Cordelia, I got
Yellowstone law.
yeah.
Okay.
Um, and then I got Cordelia from one of my favorite characters in Buffy slash Angel. She was a badass. I was like, all right. And then it turned out to be Shakespearean. I was like,
What do you
oh
mean
yeah,
was?
she's still a
Is.
badass. She's still a badass. That's absolutely true. And then once I developed kind of some sort of lore, which is very heavily based in Greek mythology, um, that I liked to. I mean, I tweaked a few little things so it's not just like copy and paste from Greek mythology, but like the Romans have Romulus and Remus, the founding of Rome, and they were raised by a she wolf and then was found by a shepherd, and I was like, oh, well, that's going in. Um, then there's like the three goddesses, or like Artemis, Luna, and Hecate are like always, not always, but like they pretty much overlap, and they take care of like the goddess of the hunt and the goddess of the moon and the goddess of magic. And I'm like, yeah, we're just gonna, yeah, we're mixing all of y'all together. You guys are a group and you're gonna hang out that way. So my werewolves are very my werewolf and my werewolf hunters end up being very Roman and Greek mythology based. um and that just, once I figured out the werewolves, I figured out, okay, why aren't they more prominent taking over the world? Okay, let's see what we've got with hunters. How can we make hunters a thing? And then I took Orion's story and kind of like um made it into just logical steps. So it'd be like, okay, so this is the rise of werewolves. Now we have a chosen one who's gonna wipe out all the werewolves, and now they're in hiding. And so, like it, like following base, like what I know from history and how like things have worked in the past. Like this makes logical sense. Now we have a group of werewolves or like a group of hunters, and you can't go around saying, "Hey, I hunt werewolves for a living." So it's like, how would you sneak that into society? Sure, let's turn them into a sorority at a college. That makes sense because they've got some weird, like,
That's
like
fun.
Greek culture is beyond my understanding. And like I'm looking at it from the outside. It is a strictly American phenomenon I've noticed, and I'm like, okay, well, um, being that I am in America and I have been raised on pop culture, let's just make Greek society a little less like culty, but like still kind of culty. Uh, but like, you know what? They're doing cool
More of a
stuff. Like,
club.
yeah, it's a club. Yeah, it's like they raise money and like support each other and like getting jobs and stuff like that. They do fundraisers and charity events, and at night they hunt werewolves. So um and from there I was like, okay. And if you follow the bloodline, then you get basically like a Jesus character who's got all these superpowers that they don't want to have because like who wants to be the chosen one? No one, like anyone in their right mind does not want to be the chosen one.
Right.
Like so they're like,
Yeah. Nobody's filling that application.
no. But they're like, this is your destiny. Here you go. And it's like, okay. And then I make them a lesbian. It's fine. So I was like, got just three queers heading these things. I've got a lesbian
Love it.
werewolf princess, a queer little book nerd who's my main character, and then the best friend who is lesbian Jesus. Not Haley Kiyoko, just my version of a lesbian Jesus.
Incredible. And so, how much of that, as you're learning your Cherokee heritage, how much of that ties in? Like, do you
um
keep making little modifications?
I keep making little modifications as I find lore that I like to adapt to it. Um there's not a lot of wolf lore that I found with like shapeshifters and stuff in the Cherokee stories that my grandma's told me. But I do like the fact that I like the idea of having the wolf people having their own language that is um kind of lost on my um wolf my werewolf princess. Um like cuz her tragic backstory, because they all have tragic backstories, um is that like her, like she feels responsible for her family getting found by hunters. Um
Mm,
and like she was really young when that happened. So she doesn't, and she didn't have anybody else to speak that language with, so she kind of loses it. And she's during the course of this, she finds another or in this iteration, cuz now I'm writing a book. I have an iteration out there that's a podcast, which I did during the pandemic, which I'm really happy about. If you want to check it out, it's called Howl the Podcast. It kind of follows these same lines, but I've changed it again. So now I'm updating. um, uh, in this iteration, she has a little sister, and um, she's gonna teach her how to be a like what it means for her to be a werewolf, because those that are born werewolves don't get their period. Those lucky people.
oh,
They just turn into a wolf for like a week out of the month. Every 28 days they turn into a wolf. It's fine. Um and yeah, it's just uh that's the I'm going my being Cherokee, I'm using my own rediscovery um path to kind of navigate her teaching this newer person who like found out they were a werewolf in a terrible, terrible way.
Oh no.
Yeah.
I was looking for a link to drop in the chat if you
Oh,
have one.
for my thing?
Yeah, for the podcast.
Yeah, just give me a second. I can give you a
No,
link.
you're good. Take your time.
Boom.
So you have, it sounds like a book, a
Yeah,
TTRPG,
I'm
and a
working on it.
podcast that you're kind of doing all at the same time.
Yes,
Okay.
because um I
Just cuz. Just because. Because is a full sentence.
I am neurodivergent and I can't do one thing at a time. Uh
Same.
yeah, it's all the same in my head. I see it as all the same story.
Yeah.
So, like I do have a version of this where you can kind of play one little adventure um in like my story happens during the super blood wolf moon eclipse. And then because there's always an end of the world prophecy, a like I have a D&D one shot that is a full year before that. Kind of leads up to what's happening in my actual story. Um where you're the shepherd of man who is the chosen one gets kidnapped and you're trying to save them. Um it's a fun little one shot I've ran in D&D, which got a little complicated because of the action economy. Monster of the week, which is just my favorite system. Um and Monster Hearts, which is one of my second favorite systems. Um uh yeah, and so I was like I was playing around with seeing that kind of avenue and how it would work in like all these different arenas. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's a fun story. All right, moving on to this thing. And I was like working on that as I was doing the podcast, which the podcast is finished. I have a whole season out there,
Nice.
and I was thinking about doing a season two, but I was financing it myself, and I am not in a position to do that right now.
Yeah.
So, um, like I'm happy with the season that we got out there, and I'm like, okay, cool. People find it, people like it, and I magically get an influx of like more money. Then I'd be like, oh hey, I can round these people back up. Let's go again, guys. Season two, because we produced that during the pandemic in about oh shoot 12 weeks, if that.
Nice.
Um, and that's like we were just churning them out week after week, and whoo, that pipeline was rough. But
Yeah.
um
But when the flow is there,
yeah, the
you got to
flow is
kind of follow it.
yeah. Um it was fun. It was a nice like crash course on how to do a scripted podcast and situation. So I was like, okay. Um it was yeah, it was interesting. Would I do it again knowing everything that I know now? I would do it differently. Um, I would, yeah, but I do love the production on it. As we got along, as we moved along, me and the sound editor, who I'm gonna shout out, Spade, who I went to school with, um, they are sick. We had like 14-hour Zoom calls where we were just talking because we're both neurodivergent. That's the main reason why it took us 14 hours. But we were talking back and forth of just making sure that sounded just right and it didn't sound like it was in like a hollow space. Like they thought
Hmm.
of like, hey, so what's the room tone of this area that we're in? I'm like,
Yep.
you're in a forest. It's like, oh, okay. But if there's danger, then there wouldn't be like crickets or anything. So it'd be really quiet. So I need the room tone of the forest. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, who thinks of that?
Yeah. Yeah, that's production
um,
mentality.
and I'm like, yo, respect, because I can do that for like my world building. If you can, and you, that's how they see sound. And I'm like, love this. I love all of this. I don't have this. So this is excellent. Yeah, I would absolutely do a second season, mostly if I can talk them into it and I have the money to pay them properly because they did me a huge favor. Um, and I paid them what I could. Uh, but yeah, they're as excited about this world as I am. And I'm like, that's it. Everyone I've talked to about this has been excited about it. And I'm like, that's very, very, very sweet. And it's not strange. It's just like it's not something I expect because I'm talking about like gay werewolves. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Well, I think though it's representation, right? Because it's not out there as prominently
yeah.
as
I
it should
mean,
be. So,
yeah, absolutely, yeah. I mostly go out there when I'm at least when I'm create with this world that I've created. I was like, all right, what's things that I haven't seen that I really want to see, just for me? And I'm like, oh, well, gay werewolves is one. Lesbian Jesus, is another.
love that
Um,
so much
and then more Native American representation,
for sure.
which I mean, right now it's like there's been so much more out there, which is fantastic. Reservation dogs, um, and honestly, anything Jeffrey Jacobs does, because they're one of my favorites. Um, uh, yeah, it's I'm running down. So, how about you? What are you? I'm getting nervous. I'm talking to myself. Talking about
You're
myself too much.
talking about yourself too. You were just like, wait, wait, I'm talking about me.
Yep, it all
Yeah.
clicked really quick. So,
Yeah, no, I feel that. Well, and that's part of what we're doing, right? Is to
yeah,
take all of these pieces of the different things because we're both neurodivergent.
yeah, yeah,
Um, and so we always have these multiple concepts going on in our head. And for me specifically, I often have things that kind of like quiet down a little bit and then I work on other things and then it pops back up again. And then I see it morph into, there's a piece of this that I thought was going to be for something else, but it ends up being for a new thing completely. But in similar fashion, see big picture. So when I'm working on all these pieces, it doesn't feel like necessarily I'm working on different things. So I
yeah,
understand that mentality. You've got this world that for you is very real, but also you're still feeling it out
yeah.
and,
Also,
and kind
I
of
like
building it.
I'm like halfway building it, or it's like I've gotten it to a spot where I feel like I can share it. I just don't know the proper avenue to share it because I know once it's out there, that's like set in stone. That's it. Not with the podcast. The podcast is its own alternate universe. I'm changing things again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Um, but like I want to make sure that the lore, because I figured out hunters and werewolves, but I also want to figure out a nice little avenue for the magical element. And I don't play in D&D, I play partial casters, and I am not a full-blown caster. I don't like magic like that for myself. But I do love the idea that knowledge is power. Um,
Mm,
because that's one of those like tenets that I was raised with. Like the
yeah.
more you know, the more powerful you are. Like, yeah. So, go Joe. Um, if you know, you know. Um, but yeah, so I also like the idea of like the symbiotic nature of ravens and wolves and how they interact in the wild together. And I want to um incorporate that in a way where I have like magic users who help wolves are referred to as ravens, and then there's um crows who are magic users that hunt wolves, and then there's jays who are just magic users that are in the world. Um because those are all corvids, and I love like the two goth ones, ravens and crows, and then you've got blue jays. So it's like, "Hi, I'm here. Just throwing magic, sparkle sparkle out for everybody. Peace and love." Um and like I'm trying to make my world have more layers than just, hey, good and bad and like, I want there to be more texture, which is why I'm trying to, excuse me, expand with this new iteration in the book, which is now the
Build that
untitled,
lore.
yeah, which is the untitled werewolf story, or my werewolf story. I don't know what it is yet. I might tell this from Kenny's point of view, which will be difficult. Um, or hop around points of view. Like I'm getting back into reading because like actual physical books, because I do a lot of audiobooks, because that's the only way I can read. Um, but like getting back into reading to see different type of writing styles that like I can pick and choose from, because yeah.
What is your writing style?
uh that is an excellent question. It's been a my writing style right now is very short and sweet. Um because I've been script writing for so long. I started off in prose,
Mm-hmm.
where I was like, I will take this whole page to describe a room. Boom. And I was like, I will describe everything because it's all important.
Yeah.
Um
Well, that's Tolkien.
yeah, I went to the school of Tolkien. Um
Yeah, it's all the same.
to in writing. When I was younger, I have never read Lord of the Rings. It's just that's the way my brain defaulted. And then I went to school. Well, not so much school, but I like, especially in school, because I went to film school. But I started reading scripts and seeing how like different teams handle different parts of the storytelling. So, like, my job as the writer is to be like, okay, exterior, woods, night. Y'all make it creepy. Moving on. um, like that's the production teams. That's the production design. You got those. You got your slug line. There you go. I don't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
I just describe what the characters are doing and like try and push the story forward. So my brain got like less and less attracted to words that are heavily detailing a space. And I'm trying to get back into it. Um, some of the authors that I like to, or the current author who I really like how they describe people, minus like um they use a lot of food to describe people of color, and I'm like, I'm gonna shy away from that because I don't like that. But the way that they describe people is more of like they give off energy. Um, like eh, I can't pull out a quote right now, but like the way that they do it is like they walk into the room, like he just radiates command. He's a big wide man who is like made for command. And that's JD Robb, who is Nora Roberts. And like I've been reading the In Death series since I found it on accident when I was way too young again. Um, this is what happens when your kids hang out in a library. They find books that they're not really supposed to read. Um,
Are they not supposed to read them? I don't
oh
know.
no, this book, I was 12 and this is an adult romance book. I
Oh, okay.
th- that's what I mean by not supposed to read.
Yep.
Um, because I was not mature enough to pick up this book, which is like in the middle of the series, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening at all. And then I went back and found it, and now I've been obsessed with these books forever. So that's also what you get when your kids read books that they're not supposed to read, obsessed with series that they spend the rest of their life trying to figure out. Um, yeah, no, so always good. Support your local libraries. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so I like their style of or her style of uh describing people. Another one that I like is oh Snapdragons. The guy who does writes the whole Jack series because he starts off in Jack's point of view. And Bloody Jack is a pirate series about um this orphan girl, like street urchin girl who has no education, and so he writes it like there is that this like in the voice of the character with no education. It's very cockney,
Wow.
like very accented, and then as she gets on a boat and becomes a cabin boy in the first book, and so she gets educated that way.
What's the name of
And
the series?
this is the Bloody Jack series. I don't remember the name of the author, but I flippin' love these books.
Keep going. I'll look it up.
So yeah, so she becomes more and more educated. She gets found out as a cabin boy and then gets sent off. Um,
L.A.
L.A.
Meyer.
Mayor. Yeah, Meyer. L.A. Meyer. There we go. Um, yeah, once she's educated, she gets sent off to a school. She runs away from the school. She goes on plenty of adventures, but her the lexicon of the book changes as she gets more and more educated and as she explores the world and matures as a young woman. It's phenomenal. Highly recommend that for anyone who wants to read that. Cuz that's whew, I love that book. I found that and I was like, "What?" Um and since I'm out here recommending books, LMNOP is another book that really influenced me because it takes um it's it's an interesting read, okay? I'm just going to say it's a bunch of island people who are obsessed with language, and as their heroes like statue starts losing letters, um they take those letters out, they take it as an omen that they can no longer use those letters
Fun.
until and so all the words that have the offending letter are removed from the dictionary. If you use that letter, you are banished from town. Um so it gets really creative on
Don't
how
say that
they
too loud. They might do it in Florida.
look. Florida has to read LMNOP for for that to actually become
That's
a
true.
thing. So
It's
but
100%
yeah,
accurate.
LMNOP was a good one, and my I read that book when I was in Florida. My English teacher
Amazing.
gave me that. I don't remember the English teacher's name. but that was like my 8th grade English teacher gave me that book, and I was like, "Yo, what is this? Because this is amazing."
I am realizing that my Nightbot, not Nightbot, that's a whole different thing, uh, lost its moderator privileges. So I
Oh
just put it
no.
back on. Yeah, I had it all set up so it would tell people how to go find you and all that stuff and what we're doing.
Yeah,
I don't know. We'll have to fix it later.
it's okay.
I love that all of these like iterations, like everything that we get from any kind of design or creative space is always like pulling in from everywhere. Right, is where we get our stuff from. But I love that you're pulling it in from personal spaces too and doing these tie-ins. I think that it's really easy to kind of get like caught up in like what you should do. You know what I mean? So I think it's great
Yeah.
that you're just going by what you want to do and finding those, magic moments kind of thing.
Uh, yeah, I like. So I think my way of seeing this is the like a quote from Debbie Reynolds' character in Halloween Town, which is just appropriate because it's spooky season and
It's
Debbie
always
Reynolds.
spooky season.
It's always spooky season. But she plays a grandma. If you don't know Halloween Town, what is wrong with you? It's the best
Right?
decom out there. But she plays a witchy grandma, and her best defense for like what like I just want her daughter is like, I just want my kids to be normal, and she's like, being normal is vastly overrated. And being like
I wouldn't
the
want to be
way that
normal.
I yeah, the way that
What
I
is
took
normal?
that,
Setting in a
yeah,
dryer.
exactly. But the way that I took that was like, okay, I will be unapologetically myself. Like my role model is Gomez Adams. He is rich and kind of crazy, but homie is so passionate about everything in his life. He is passionate about his kids. He is passionate about his wife. He is passionate about his family. That's it. That's Gomez Adams is the epitome of passion, and I want that in my life. Like I want to be that. So
And he's a little bit off the chain.
yeah, no, homie is more than a little bit off the chain. He's homie's out there. And I love him.
Mm-hmm.
So wait, I'm talking about all the things that are like inspiring to me. What has inspired you, and like what is your yeah, I've talked about my werewolves, and I know you have a project
Yeah.
that's, and you were
Set
talking
and
about big
stage.
picture. So I want
Yeah.
to hear about your project.
So mine is similar in the sense that it's kind of living in all of these spaces. So the one that I'm specifically focusing on and bringing to life with this space, with challenge accepted specifically, um, and mainly it's because it's one of these projects that keeps getting put to the side. So a while back, several years ago, I had gone to Williamsburg with my daughter, and they had this quest, and it was incredible, totally immersive. And you went all through Colonial Williamsburg, and you had to see different people, and it was basically a TTRPG, and it had all the lore of Colonial Williamsburg, but you had to like go pick up certain things. You had to go to dead drops and pick up items and then go bring it to somebody else. So immersive. Excellent. And I'm sorry to all of you listening, it doesn't exist anymore. Except in my mind. Because we still talk about it. She is now 30, just visited this last week, actually, with her wife, and apologized to her wife because this didn't exist. And every time they walked around, if there was like a little space that looked like it would be a good spot for a quest, her wife would say, "Was this part of the quest?" And my daughter would be like, yeah, sorry. And there's like little signs you had to look for and all that kind of stuff. So I just love the idea of immersions in general. So I've been kind of like in the back of my head designing escape rooms and all of these different things before escape rooms were crazy busy and everything. And I also have a design and film background. So I have a degree in production. And I've been in the design and broadcast world and print world and all that stuff for the past 30 years. But essentially, I'm just someone who wants to play. So I'm always looking for ways to bring play into the world. In addition to that, um, I do healing work as well. And most of my healing work is in art and play. And there's a reason for that. People are, I think, at their purest when they're in those kind of spaces. And you said it kind of at the beginning. You just release all of those things that you think you should be carrying around and you just get into the zone, basically. And anyone who's a creative, this is how we live. We get in the zone in line, at a store or whatever. We're getting in those spaces all the time. But the people that are living in what I call the muggle world, where they have to go out and be in that 9 to 5 job, or, just maybe they're in situations that are really rough for life. Um, it's sometimes very difficult for them to get into those spaces or even know that it's okay. And so for me, like I've been doing that like with my kids, and like it's just a natural part of my personality. Play just exists. And so what I'm wanting to do now is combine the writing that I do and the storytelling and bring that into the immersion, but in a way that's also like really bringing awareness to the importance for mental health, for, positive mental health. And when I say that, it's more like kind of what we're doing here, which is just saying it is okay to be in this space, to play, and to just let go and do those things. And so the concept that I'm building all revolves around, for the most part, doing these at conventions. So I have this creature quest and this whole like little story and world that goes where you're either saving the creatures, protecting them from the evildoers, or you are one of the evildoers and you are trying to capture them. And as you're going through your, you can do, I'm going to write this as a world and a TTRPG system, or I don't know if it's going to be a system yet because I'm still playing with it. I'd like to be able to just pick this up and put it anywhere.
Yeah.
So I think it might be system agnostic, and you can just take the meat of the story and put it in. So I'm going to, build the creatures and all that. But I want to design it for specifically for conventions where we can go around and have people quest through the convention. So, for example, I use Goose Poop. I use Jordan from Goose Poop's Creator Group all the time because it's just fun. If he had a booth at a convention, his little mascot is a goose. So part of the quest, if he was a part of this quest, you would be searching for his goose. So you'd have to find his booth and interact with him, who would be in character, and he might give you some clues and things like that to find his goose, which may or may not be at his booth, might be at somebody else's booth, right?
Yeah.
But essentially, I'm taking that like Pokemon vibe, got to collect them all,
Yeah.
um, and creating it around um, the community aspect of conventions. And I want to do it in a way that the artists, so like, the artist booths are usually highlighted in a certain way, and they're given deals when they go into the conventions and stuff like that, so they can get, better um, draw in there.
Yeah.
So giving them a different rate than you would give somebody like Sony.
Yeah.
Come in,
Yeah.
right?
Definitely.
So kind of tiering it and making different like sponsorship opportunities, where maybe we're writing a whole quest for someone, maybe we're giving them standardized characters, you know,
Yeah.
um, but having it be this world that you become a part of, and you can go from convention to convention and collect all of these as you go because they'll be constantly evolving.
Yeah.
So, they're spawning like Pokemon or whatever. But the goal for me is for it to be this really immersive where you're taking like cosplay into it,
Heck
um,
yeah.
backstories for the characters that are at the booths and stuff. They might need to go, like, for example, I use Jordan again. He writes a TTRPG that's called Good Soup. So
Okay.
there might be a vendor there at the convention that has soup, and you might have to go collect some soup to get his goose. You know what I mean?
I love that.
Yeah, so it's just like this thing that you can do as a convention goer, um, and then as a vendor, get a little bit more publicity for your, booths and stuff like that. But I also want it to be, like I said, something that you can just drop it into a game. So I'll start. Right now, their ideas are here, and I've
Yeah.
got kind of like outlines and stuff. But then I'll just start writing backstories. So it's like for a TTRPG where you sit down and you create a character with this whole wild backstory.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna do that a million times for all these little characters.
See, I think character rollers, like those tables where you just roll the dice and it's like you're here from here, do this. Excellent for that.
Yep, yep. And I think it lends itself well where you can do collaborations,
Yeah.
with multiple groups and vendors, and it can be like, okay, this group gets this world,
Yeah.
and then you go through a portal to get to this world. Like there's just so many ways to manipulate it, I guess.
Yeah. And I know so many, like I follow so many artists that have like different, like just off the top of my head there's like Megs Mashables, who is just goes around mashing two different creatures and comes up with like really really cute little guys. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, if you need creatures in your world, boom. Like boom,
Oh,
like right there. And I'm like, okay, that's cool, that's cool. And like
yeah.
different, like I can see how that can branch off into so many different things. Just
Yeah.
immediately. That's awesome.
The exciting part about it for me is really just how many people I can collaborate with, because that's what I love to do the most, that collaboration stuff. For me, I work independently, and you know, I'm an artist as well, so I can do all that stuff. But it's not magic if it's just me.
Yeah.
Like, for me, those are like individual things. That's like I do a lot of healing art. And so when I'm pouring out into that and pouring Reiki into it and all of that, that's for like a person that's going to come across this and connect with it and need that piece, right? And that's one aspect. But for me, for the whole world to develop, it's like I'm going back to those production days. I need that back and forth. And I think that's why we connected so quickly,
Yeah.
because it was like a recognition of that.
Yeah,
Uh,
once you go through those production trenches, like,
yeah,
oh, hey, I see you.
yeah, because it really is like that, kindergarten play space where it's like, hey, I've got this, I can put it with that, and then we could do this with it,
Heck yeah.
and
Absolutely,
so
yeah.
like this whole world for that. And I like the idea of having multiple artists, where they can then create their own stickers and sell things there. And, so it just, I don't know. It's just, I'm excited about the possibility of where it's going to go. And then I also wanted to create something that I could have like little pieces of things for. So I can create, downloadable characters that you can drop into TTRPG. I can create these scenarios where you're maybe working through some trauma or something and
Yeah.
bring that in. I can create these seek joy scenarios, which a lot of people need.
Yes.
And just like even the ideas of creating characters around emotions so that you can bring out a little bit more awareness. Like you were talking about autistic before. I know that's not emotion, but that's a whole world of differences that you have to face on a regular basis. And there's good and bad to it, right? There's challenges that you have to face, but there's also things that specifically make it where you're you because of this thing that you have. And I feel like that gets missed a lot. So, like,
Yeah.
each person individually is this beautiful soul that is made up of all of these parts. Well, one of those parts is being autistic, so creating a character that's around those, and it's kind of like Inside Out does this,
Yeah.
you know, beautifully, actually. And so, like, I'm looking forward to getting to know more of those and bringing those kind of to light a little bit more, because I feel like we only have our own awareness,
Yeah.
right? So, like, for me, if I wanted to know more about Cherokee, I'm going to come to you, but you're also going to say, I'm in discovery stage. I don't know enough.
Let me ask my grandma.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And
That's that
that's kind of
customer
fun
service
too.
thing. It's like,
Yeah,
I don't know the answer, but let me get someone who does.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a part of this. Like understanding how to have those conversations, but doing like I want this world to be very light, you know, but introduce just ideas, even if it's
Yeah.
subtle sometimes,
Yeah, no.
just to get them in there.
Absolutely.
But I'm excited about just like seeing what happens because there's a few people working on this. I didn't want it to be just me from the get go. So it's like, okay, I've got this idea,
Mm-hmm.
but I wanted to bring it out. And so having a few people to, to basically be on that kind of starting block, like, what are we
Yeah.
going to do first? And then bringing in people that, like you said, they get interested in something, so they jump in.
Yeah.
And,
You built the
and
sandbox. It's just like having
yeah,
other kids play around in it. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. And that idea of being able to take somebody else's thing and bring it in,
Yeah.
like we talked about good soup, so
Yeah.
if I can take that in and credit good soup, that's just another pointer to another small business.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. 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 And like small business, like we're out here, like support your local libraries, support small businesses,
Yeah,
um, support your local creators.
yeah,
Sony doesn't need any more money.
right.
Um,
They're gonna pay.
yeah.
They're not gonna get.
Yeah. It's just like I'm always here for like, well, because especially in the tabletop space, like every creator you meet is like, yeah, no, I'm out here writing my own thing or doing this own thing. Like we're all out here coming up with our own stuff, right? And like for me, the only logical thing you can do in a situation when you're surrounded by your friends who are all super creative trying to do stuff is to be out there and support them, like
Yeah.
as best you can, like shout them out, like share it, uh buy it if you can, but like just get it out there and like let the
Mhm.
world see how awesome and creative this one individual is, which is I think another reason
Yeah.
why we came together for challenge
Yeah.
accepted.
Yeah, for sure. Because it's challenging.
Yeah, it's hard out here. uh
Yeah. And as a neurodivergent, it's like this extra level of like hill that you have to climb.
yeah.
And and I don't think we ever like fully give up on an idea that lives rent free in our head.
Nah, you
So we could
gotta.
have this thing
Yeah,
when we're in
you're
our. Go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna say, yeah, you're gonna have to pull this idea from my cold dead fingers because I remember everything.
Yeah.
Unless I forget. But it's
Yeah.
how my brain works.
Well, and I like my memory is not great, but my idea creation process, like that's where the magic is for me. And it's not just me, like it's other people's stuff too. Like I
Yeah.
can't stop the ideas from coming.
Oh, yeah. As you were going off, I was like, oh, then you can probably get it working at this. I know I can probably figure out how to make it work at MomoCon. Like,
Uh-huh.
let's see, I've only done Dragon Con for 2 years, but I'm pretty sure we can make that work. That'd be a bigger. I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
it goes off. It like someone sparks something and it just like hops and skips and just
Hmm. Exactly.
spreads. And I'm like, it's beautiful.
Yeah. That's the electricity. And, and there's going to be werewolves in there.
Oh, obviously.
Get them all in there. Yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of like what we're doing with this. Is we're gonna kind of off screen and on screen give each other some challenges to keep us in line, I guess, in terms of you know moving that
Keep it
mountain,
moving
I guess.
forward. Yeah, just
Yeah,
you gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah,
Push that boulder one extra step, you know?
exactly. Exactly. And I think the act of just being able to talk something out can get that next idea a little bit of a push, you know, to go
Yeah.
where it needs to go. And then we're also going to do a lot of like on screen organizational stuff, you know, building it out and typing the things and
Yeah.
talking about the characters and, you know, and stretching and pulling the taffy and all that stuff to see what happens.
Yeah, making actionable steps instead of like, because we can talk theory all day long. We can have ideas
Yes.
shoot off forever. Um, but I think the challenge would be for us to figure out actionable steps to get it from point A to point B.
Yeah.
Um, so we can all of us can like cross that finish line together. Like not all, it
Yep.
doesn't have to be at the same time, but
No.
it's just all of us end up at the same, like at that finish line, whatever that finish line is for whoever you are. So
Yeah. Time is a weird soup.
yep.
We don't worry about that. So my action item for you, and you may have this already. I want to see like a kind of like a family tree, but not necessarily family, but like the bubble diagram maybe of your characters and how they relate to each other. So like there might be a spork of the tree that is, you know, the different werewolf clans. I don't know what we're calling them, tribes.
Yeah, the different
Um,
packs. Yeah.
pack. There we go. I was like, at both words, I was like, nope, I don't like either of these words. Let's not use either of those. Um, yeah, so like just seeing the differences you described, you know, the shifters and things like that. So I want to see like actual character names if you've got them, and I want to see like group names. You know, like
Okay.
if these are shifters and these are this, and we'll put the diagram up on the screen
All
if you
right.
got it. Yeah.
Um, I will work on that. My action item for you. Whew, I had it. Um, and you might already have this too, but can I would like you to come up with um an outline, really, really just basic outline for your world, like the basic rules for your world. Um, like if there's magic, just honestly, if there's magic in the types of creatures, um, yeah, and
Okay.
yeah, I'll stick to magic and creatures because those are two big things. So
Yep.
okay, yeah,
Cool. I love it. And this is what we'll do. We'll just throw the challenge out, and we got a month
awesome.
to make it happen.
And we will
So
check in.
yeah,
Yeah,
and we will check in, not just in here. Yeah, we'll check in the outside of stream world too.
yeah,
Um, oh, and one other thing too, we may just randomly go live sometimes and do like, you know, co-working situations and stuff like that, whatever. So if you see us on and you want to join, more the merrier. Party is
yeah.
open.
Just hang out. We're here for body doubling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just support, just that I see you moment. Cool, cool, cool. Do you want to say what you're doing, like where you're gonna be?
Oh yeah. So I am Casper the NB Ghost, and you can find me everywhere at Casper da NB Ghost. Um, this upcoming week, I will be on Pluto Cleric's channel tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern time. And she's doing Monsters After Dark, or yeah, something like that. It's their werewolf it's not Werewolf the Masquerade, but it's like Vampire the Masquerade, but I'm playing a werewolf, and they're playing around with that system. Um and that's where I'm going to be
Cool,
tomorrow.
cool, cool.
Yeah.
I've got on Tuesday, October 15th, we're going to do Boss Jellybean and Andy from Mods. They're doing a new Kickstarter release.
Ooh.
So they're going to be on the Creator Spotlight, and we're going to talk about that.
Oh, yeah, I absolutely forgot that we have like a whole month in between. Okay. We literally
Yeah,
just
it's all
said it.
good.
Yeah, okay. I'm also on the 13th gonna be playing Girl by Moonlight with Hampod, and then I'm gonna be playing
Yeah.
another werewolf, playing a werewolf out west for Hampod 2 on the 16th. I'm hosting a game on Start Playing if you guys want to play for Shepherd's Bay, which is a homebrew monster of the week
Yes, you want to play.
one shot that I'm doing on the wait, that was the 17th, and then also on the 14th, and then on the 17th I'm doing Women Are Werewolves because that's my favorite game, and that's a full moon. So I figure that's
Ooh.
lines up just so nice.
Yeah,
That's
that's
also on my
amazing.
Start Playing. So yeah.
Nice. I don't know what else I'm doing, but you can find it all if you go to imagineif.shop.
Heck yeah.
It'll take you to my link tree and tell you all the things I'm doing. So thank you for hanging out.
Wado,
We'll see
everybody.
you.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
we'll see you next time.